Born from fire, shaped by the ocean, softened by time. A land where nature still feels alive. Welcome to the Azores. Welcome to our 10-day itinerary on São Miguel Island, Azores. Over these days, we hiked through lush forests and past waterfalls, soaked in natural hot springs, and tasted local specialties. Along the way, we marveled at landscapes shaped by volcanoes and the ocean. Join us as we share every step of this unforgettable journey. We arrived in Ponta Delgada in the afternoon, picked up our rental car and set off toward Maya, a quiet seaside village on the north coast. It's peaceful, small, and perfectly placed for exploring every corner of São Miguel. We based ourselves there for almost the entire trip, with just the final night spent back in Ponta Delgada, and it quickly started to feel like our little home on the island. After settling into our place, we went out to explore Maya, and just a minute from our accommodation, we came across these natural ocean pools. A really nice first spot that showed us what the island is about. We returned here a few times during our stay, mostly to cool off after hikes or just to relax. We ended the day with a sunset walk along the coast, slowing down to catch the light and take a few photos. A calm evening before the days ahead. Now, one thing you really have to try when visiting the Azores is their locally grown pineapple. The island's mild climate makes it perfect for cultivation, and honestly, I can't even describe how good it was. You can probably see the juiciness even on the video. We started the second day quite early and headed to Parque Natural da Ribeira dos Caldeiras, a lush park full of tropical vegetation, waterfalls and old watermills. The entrance is free and we were greeted right away by a local cat, though we didn't yet know just how many of them we'd meet across the island. The park is also a small sanctuary for endemic birds of São Miguel, so it's worth keeping an eye out if you enjoy bird watching. It's a beautiful spot to wander around for about an hour or so, and if you're up for something more adventurous, you can even try canyoning here. Just as we were about to leave the park, a light drizzle rolled in and quickly wrapped the whole area in a soft mist. It was one of those classic Azores weather shifts, so make sure to pack a rain jacket. We love hiking, and after enjoying some amazing trails on Madeira, we were really looking forward to exploring the ones here on São Miguel too. So after visiting the park, we continued exploring the area and went for a short hike nearby. It was marked as PR21. It's a beautiful one-way trail, about 5 kilometers long, so 10 in total if you count in the return. And it's not difficult, but as with most trails on the island, good hiking shoes are a must. The great thing is that hiking trails on São Miguel are very well marked, and you can find all the official routes on visitazores.com. I'll also link every hike we did in the video description. Coming back to this one, along the way you'll pass a few waterfalls, including the impressive Salto da Farina and also Poco Azul, a small natural lake that's definitely worth a stop. The trail itself takes around 2 hours one way, so expect about 4 hours in total. It was raining for most of our hike, but honestly, it only made the atmosphere even better. Soft light, mist, and the sound of water everywhere. After the hike, we were pretty hungry, so we jumped back into the car and headed toward the restaurant we had been looking forward to visiting. Before reaching it, we made a quick stop at a really nice viewpoint. As for viewpoints on the island, keep an eye out when you're driving, because almost everyone has parking, and honestly, almost each one is worth stopping for. Then we arrived at Associação Agrícola de São Miguel, a place that's part of the island's main agricultural cooperative. It represents most of the local farmers and is especially known for producing top-quality Azorean beef. The restaurant has become one of the best spots on the island to try it, and we recommend going for the typical Azorean steak, served with a fried egg and roasted peppers, a real local classic. Afterwards, we headed to Ribeira Grande, one of the main towns on the north coast. It has a long history. The first settlers were drawn here by the stream running through the main square, and later the town became center for mills and the textile industry. Walking through the streets, you can really see the layers of history in its architecture and city layout. A very authentic glimpse of life on São Miguel. After exploring the town, we enjoyed watching the sunset on the beach. There are quite a few beach bars, so you can just grab a drink, listen to the ocean, and watch the sun go down. Last, but definitely not least, once in Ribeira, we highly recommend checking out the local craft brewery, Vulcana. It's set in an unusual industrial-style space that combines a brewery, a bistro, and concert hall all in one. They are only open on Fridays and weekends, but they often host cool events and live concerts, so it's worth checking in advance. You can try different types of beer. Just keep in mind, if you're not staying in Ribeira, only one can fully commit to sampling all the beers. The next morning, we set out for Pico da Vara, the highest mountain on São Miguel, reaching 1,103 meters. It's located in the Serra da Tranqueira area, in the eastern part of the island near Nordeste. The trail is about 9 kilometers both ways, with a steady climb for most of the way. Apart from that, it's not a particularly difficult hike, and from the top, you're rewarded with views of the island in every direction. Just one note, you do need to register in advance for this hike, as the number of visitors is limited to protect this delicate ecosystem. The registration form can be filled out online and you'll get an instant confirmation, so you can easily do it even the day before your hike. After the hike, we went back to our accommodation to get some lunch and to relax a bit, and then we drove to the east part of São Miguel to stop at another viewpoint. From here, you get a panoramic view of the Atlantic, the dramatic cliffs, and the historic lighthouse. From there, we continue to enjoy a chill afternoon at a lovely picnic park area nearby. For the evening, we had planned our first visit to the natural hot springs in Furnas. These springs are beautifully set in a lush green valley with several pools of different temperatures, all fed by warm, iron-rich water coming from volcanic activity beneath the ground. The water has a distinct orange tint from the minerals, and it can easily stain light-colored swimwear, so we wisely brought our oldest ones, and we recommend you do the same. For these hot springs, it's best to book tickets online a day or two in advance, especially if you want to visit in the evening when the place is beautifully lit with warm lights, creating a calm, almost magical atmosphere among the trees and steam. The visit lasts about 2 hours, and you can also rent towels or lockers on site if needed. There's even a small shop with locally made souvenirs if you want to get something. The fourth day was all about exploring one of the island's most iconic spots, Sete Cidades, famous for its twin lakes nestled inside a volcanic caldera. We started very early, around 6 a.m., as the drive from Maya to the western part of São Miguel takes about an hour. Quick tip, before you go, it's worth checking the local webcams to make sure that the lakes aren't hidden behind clouds. The weather here can change in minutes. We parked at Lagoa de Canario, a great base for exploring the area. Just a short walk away is the Miraduro de Grota de Inferno, one of the island's best viewpoints, which you can just now see on the video. Arriving early meant we had it almost to ourselves. Well worth the early start. Then we made our way back to the parking lot. Not to drive away though, we actually started the 7 Cities Lagoon Loop Trail from there. First point of interest on the trail is the Wall of 9 Windows, a historic aqueduct built between the 17th to 18th centuries to channel water to Ponta Delgada. From there, the trail loops around the caldera, moving through forested sections and along the crater rim. Along the way, it opens up to views of the lakes, the surrounding hills, and the distant ocean. The contrast between the blue and green lakes stands out, and the hike gives a good sense of the area's size and character. Even though the trail is quite popular with tourists, there are very few places to buy snacks, as it stays mostly within nature, so don't forget to bring some with you. If you want to extend the hike, it's also possible to continue down to Sete Cidades, a small village located inside the caldera between the two lakes. The village takes its name from the legend of the Island of the Seven Cities, a mythical land said to exist somewhere in the Atlantic. We considered the extension, but decided to stick to the loop only. The route was already around 25 kilometers, and in the heat, that felt more than enough. I'll link the route in the video description again, but if there is just one hike you want to do during your stay, this is the one. The loop also passes by the abandoned Monte Palace Hotel, a well-known landmark above the lakes. Right next to it is one of the very few places along the route where you can buy a small snack or drink. And after a hike like this, you definitely deserve a cold keema, a typical Azorean passion fruit lemonade that's incredibly refreshing. Highly recommend it. From there, we continued back towards the car. The final section follows the road for a short while, so if we were to do it again, we'd probably look for a slightly different route just to avoid that stretch. Exhausted after the hike, it was time to slow things down. So we drove to Termas da Ferreira, one of the most unique spots on the island, where hot thermal water mixes directly with the Atlantic Ocean. At low tide, you can actually swim in naturally warm ocean water, an unexpected and genuinely fun experience. Cool waves roll in from the sea, blending with the heat from the springs, and the ropes help you stay in place when the water gets lively. It's playful, a little wild, and unlike anything else. It's also a great sunset spot. Food carts nearby sell sandwiches and drinks, making it easy to grab something and enjoy the sun sinking into the ocean. After a long hike the day before, we chose a slower day, one centered around tea. Our day began among the tea fields at the Porto Formoso tea factory. It's one of only 2 historic tea plantations in Europe. The other one, Goreana, is just a few minutes away. Many people visit both, and it's worth it as each place feels a little different. Porto Formoso has a nice old-school atmosphere. Part of the building works as a small museum, showing how tea has been made here since the 1800s. They run short guided tours throughout the day, free, easy to follow, and you don't need to book anything in advance. The plantation actually went through a revival in the early 2000s, bringing their organic teas back into production. A few minutes down the road is Goreana, the oldest tea factory in Europe still in operation. It's been family run since 1883 and produces around 30 to 40 tons of tea a year. You can walk through the factory and watch the workers in action, seeing how the tea is processed. After that, you can grab a free cup of tea, green or black, and enjoy it while taking in the views over the fields. There's also a small cafe if you want to get something sweet. It wouldn't be us if we skipped a hike, even on a slower day. Right next to Goreana starts a short circular trail, the PRC28, and it winds through the tea plantations and offers great views of the north coast. An easy, refreshing walk and a perfect way to see the landscape from a different angle. For lunch, we stopped at Cantinho de Cais, a small local spot known for its fish soup. It's nothing fancy, but really tasty. We ordered just one portion and it was huge. The menu has more seafood options, but the soup alone is worth the stop. Back in Maya, we took a quick dip in the natural pools we mentioned earlier and enjoyed a short break before heading out again. The coastal trail, starting right in Maya, turned out to be the perfect spot for sunset. This PR27 walk is short, but incredibly scenic, and after a few cloudy days, we were finally rewarded with a beautiful evening light. To finish the day, we drove to the Termas das Caldeiras hot springs. Warm water, steam rising in the evening air, a perfect way to unwind. The springs sit in a quiet village, not as busy as the more famous spots, and the water stays around 39 degrees with lots of minerals. A very relaxing end to the day. Another day, another hike. We started the 6th day with a hike to Lagoa de Fogo, one of the most impressive places on São Miguel. We follow the PRCO2 trail, which steadily climbs from the coast up to the crater. Parts of the path run alongside old Levada-style channels, instantly reminding us of Madeira. It's a manageable ascent with beautiful views along the way, and the higher you go, the quieter and more untouched the landscape begins to feel. The lake sits inside a crater of an extinct volcano. At around 575 meters above sea level, it's the highest lagoon on the island, and also one of the most protected ones, which is why swimming isn't allowed. After the hike, we drove down to Vila Franca de Campo and stopped for lunch at Mercado da Vila, an old fish market turned into a modern food hall. You can choose from a few different kitchens here: Azorean, Italian, Mexican or Swiss. We went for the Mexican one and it wasn't bad, but it's a bit pricey and the portions were on the smaller side. Still, if you're around, it's not a bad spot. Next, we tried the town's famous quejadas da Vila. These small pastries were originally created by nuns in the old Santo André convent, and the recipe has stayed pretty much unchanged. At the Quejadas da Morgado factory, you can see how they are made and pick up a fresh box, but bear in mind they are very sweet. We then drove up to the chapel of Nossa Senhora da Paz, a small chapel built back in 1764, overlooking the entire town. The view stretches across the coastline and the small islet of shore, and we were not the only observers around. Last but not least, we finished the day by returning to Agricola for dinner. We enjoyed it so much earlier in the trip that coming back felt like an easy choice. If one place defines the raw, volcanic soul of São Miguel, it's Furnas, and our day 7 belonged entirely to it. We started the day at Pico da Fora viewpoint, and as usual on São Miguel, if there is a viewpoint on the way, it's worth stopping. From here, you get a great look over the Furnas Valley and the lake below, a nice introduction before heading down into the area. Afterwards, we drove into the town itself. We first stopped at Gloria Moniz Bakery for coffee and a simple breakfast. It's a cozy little place with a lovely owner and a good way to ease into the day. Then we walked around the village to see the fumaroles, natural openings where hot volcanic gases and steam escape from underground. Furnas is one of the island's most geothermal spots, so you'll find steam rising everywhere and bubbling pools right in the middle of town. It's quite popular amongst tourists, but still relaxed enough to enjoy just wandering around. So, of course you can't bath in these steaming hot fumaroles, but what you can do is to stop by Poca da Silvina, a tiny hot spring where you can dip your feet into naturally heated water. The pool itself is still extremely hot, so full bathing isn't allowed, but soaking your feet for a moment is a fun little stop. In the afternoon, we headed to Terra Nostra Park, a lush botanical garden filled with dense greenery, tropical-looking plants, and quiet, shaded paths. The iconic thermal pool sits at its heart, a large outdoor basin of warm, iron-rich orange water surrounded by towering trees. It's easy to spend several hours here, though food options inside the park are limited. Luckily, we were allowed to step out for a late lunch and then return to the park. Once we were done bathing at Terra Nostra, we drove to Ponta Delgada for the first time, where I was surprised with a birthday dinner at Petiscaria or Calheta. And honestly, no exaggeration, this might be the best restaurant I've ever been to. Everything just worked. The open kitchen, the creativity of the dishes, and the flavors. The combinations were spot on, thoughtful, but not overdone. It really felt like a Michelin-level experience, just without the Michelin prices. A seriously memorable birthday surprise, and a great way to end the day. Day 8 began in the rainy remote east of São Miguel, and for some reason, cats kept showing up all day. On the way to Faial da Terra, we stopped at Miraduro do Pôr do Sol, home to a whole community of cats, curious, playful, and clearly very comfortable around people. A rainy day, but on Azores, even a rainy day is beautiful for a hike. From Faial da Terra, we started the PRCO9 trail, which passes through the so-called forgotten village, Sanguino. This route climbs steadily into the hills, following old paths that once connected isolated communities. Sanguino was once home to around 400 people. Due to its difficult access, lack of infrastructure, and large waves of emigration, mainly to the United States and Canada in the mid-20th century, the village was eventually abandoned. Today, some of the houses are slowly being restored, giving the place a second life without turning it into something artificial. Walking into Sanguino feels like stepping into a place that time forgot. Stone houses, narrow paths, silence, and again, cats. And few were surprisingly affectionate. There is a small cafe in the village where you can even buy locally grown bananas or other fruits and vegetables. Sitting there, listening to the rain, surrounded by stone walls and cats, it felt easy to stay longer than planned. Pineapple keema this time. Try this one as well. From Sanguino, the trail continues through dense forest toward Cascada do Salto do Prego. The waterfall reveals itself gradually, hidden by vegetation until the last moment. With the rain, the sound of water filled the valley, and the whole place felt raw and alive. After the hike, we drove to Povoacao for lunch, one of the oldest towns on São Miguel. However, it was still raining, so we found shelter in a small restaurant filled mostly with locals. And the food was great. We had traditional Azorean lapas and a really nice grilled octopus. In the afternoon, we headed towards Salto da Cabrita, following the PRC29 trail. The hike starts right at the waterfall, where you can even take a quick dip before setting off, and that's exactly what I did. From there, the trail follows a narrow river valley, shaped not only by nature, but also by industry, running alongside old hydroelectric infrastructure, with metal pipes clinging to steep volcanic walls, carrying water toward the power station below. also connects to Caldeiras da Ribeira Grande, A small geothermal area we had already visited earlier on the trip, before continuing through open terrain and farmland, sometimes along standard roads. Strong wind and rain made this last part of the hike a little less enjoyable. In hindsight, we'd probably just walk directly to the waterfall next time and skip the full loop. The main reason we planned time in this area came in the evening. We had a reservation at Caldera Velha. Caldera Velha is part of an active geothermal system. Naturally heated springs feed several pools hidden in dense vegetation, including a warm waterfall flowing directly into one of them. It was raining the entire time we were there, and somehow that only added to the atmosphere. Warm water, steam rising into the trees. That said, there are a few practical things worth knowing. The lockers are outside, so changing in the rain means everything gets wet. Facilities were also limited. If I remember correctly, there was just a single restroom. Something to keep in mind when planning your visit. Just make sure to leave the backpack in the car, because you can't fit it in the locker if it's big, and then you have to walk all the way back. The last full day was shorter, mostly because of traveling, so I'll keep it simple. In the morning, we packed our things and left Maya, our cozy base for the past few days, and moved back to Ponta Delgada for the final part of the trip. On the way, we stopped for a cup of tea, a quiet goodbye before moving on to a very different kind of plantation. Once in Ponta Delgada, we headed to the pineapple greenhouses. Pineapples here are grown indoors, and each fruit takes almost 2 years to grow. You can walk through the greenhouses, see how the process works, and try a few pineapple-based treats. The weather was great on that day, so in the afternoon we went back to Ferreira for a swim and just took some time to relax and do very little. Later, we did a short drive along parts of the west coast, with no real plan, just to kind of check it off our list. In the evening, we returned to Petiscaria or Calheta. We'd already been there before, I've praised it, and once again, it didn't disappoint. Interesting combinations, great food, just a really easy recommendation. We ended the day with a simple walk through Ponta Delgada, around the marina and the city center. A calm way to wrap up a short, sort of an in-between day. And this is how we wrapped up our trip. On the last day, there wasn't really much time left. Before heading to the airport, we made one final stop, Jardín Botánico Antonio Borges. A walk through the garden, one last quiet place in the city with a small cafe tucked inside the park. After that, it was time to drive to the airport, return the car, and head home. São Miguel left a strong impression. Raw nature, changing weather, small towns, and a lot of variety packed inside a relatively small island. Easy to explore, but never boring. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we left you with a bit of inspiration.